I was kind of dreading this one, but because of the fact that when I say I was dreading this one, it's because of the fact that it used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid growing up. I think if I had a choice between Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and the other guy I can't think of at the moment, I think I would choose.
Are you talking about Michael Myers?
Yes, thank you. I would have to choose Freddie Mercury. Not Freddie Mercury, Freddy Krueger. Freddie Mercury was awesome, but he was not a slasher. But a Freddy Krueger would definitely haunt my dreams. A Nightmare on Elm Street. What about you? What was your horror film that you either liked as a kid, scared as a kid, then grew up, still hated or
Um,
naysayed?
well, anyone who knows me knows I'm not a big fan of clowns. The one movie that scared me as a kid that I grew up to be able to watch was the It movies.
Oh,
So, I mean, come on. Killer clown. What's more terrifying?
I would pay $50 if I had a red balloon right now.
Oh god, no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I still like certain parts, especially in the new remake of the It movies, which
Oh,
I've seen both.
I haven't
And
seen
I
the
mean,
new one.
they got a really good actor for Pennywise. Let's just say that
Really?
he's really good at making it creepy. It's
I
it's worth a watch.
see. I'm not a. Clowns don't really do much for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just
I was a kid and
right.
yeah, no.
Well,
Clowns just they freak me out.
so
Like
okay. I mean, you have choral phobia. I can't think of
yeah.
choral phobia. But what makes them quote unquote freaky? Or I mean, is it the clown makeup? Is it the squeaky shoes? Is it the hey hey
It's
hey kind of a
oh
thing?
god.
Come over here. You know, I mean, what does it
I
do for you?
whenever I like see a clown, it
Mm-hmm.
just it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
And it's because when I was a kid, my younger sister had to go to the Shriners Hospital
Okay.
for something that
Right.
was really traumatic for our family.
Mm.
And she's been going there since she was 15 months old.
Okay.
They every year when we were kids, they had this festival. Each year it was something different.
Okay.
And the one year that I specifically remember was the year of the carnival, or like, the big top, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of my parents' friends was the clown that year. And
Oh.
I wasn't I was maybe like 5. So I was Zoe's age. And he come up behind me and I didn't know. My parents didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew who the guy was, but I was 5. I didn't know who he was at the moment in time. And
Right.
he scared the daylights out of me. And since then it's just been a fear.
So because of that, the traumatic experience you had as a
Yes.
child, it grew up into your brain later on as in life, and then becoming an adult, it's still in you. I get that. Okay, I
My
see that.
brain still sends that message.
See,
Scary, bad,
mhm,
stay away,
mhm.
that kind of stuff.
See, now I don't know the backstory because it might have been something similar to my friend Blondie. She absolutely despises clowns. We
Ugh.
were at the state fair a couple of years ago before 2020, back in 2019. And they have a big top, just like you said. They have the dee 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 dee. They have the beautiful clown music because I love that stuff. The circus music. Just I've written circus music, so I kind of like that darker side of the carnival, if you will, carnival. and there was like 3 or 4 clowns that were just like parading around the gates to the big top, because they were trying to do is to coerce people into going into the big top so they could watch the show, right? That's what they're doing. But it was the Shriners clowns, which even makes it kind of even more freakier because they had those little caps on their heads. So,
Yeah,
and,
the
and it
little fez cap.
right,
Hmm.
and that started freaking out her. It started freaking out Blondie, and she's looking at these clowns, and here they come. They're starting to walk towards us, and I told her, I said, "Why don't you give him a little kiss?" Yeah, and she starts to freaking the hell out. I mean, her face went whiter than
Your
the
shirt.
Al shirt. Yes, it was whiter than the bunny. And I looked at her. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's starting to like do a Tina, like,
Hmm.
which I'm like living on this. I'm like, okay, I gotta play with this. I gotta play with those emotions. I'm like, go ahead, go on, go talk to them, And they
Trying to
get
like push her over there a little bit. Yeah, I would have freaked out.
and she starts really freaking out because these 2 clowns from that group decided to come really close, and they're like waving at her and shit like this. Now I could tell she's probably waiting to piss herself. But I found it amusing, but then I felt really bad later. I felt guilty. But I told her, I said, why don't you put your arm around it? And the clown heard her. I said, I'll get a photo of you guys. So I took my camera out of my phone and I took this picture. And the look at her face was just incredibly scared. Like, I'm going to freaking kill you later on, Cactus. But at the same time, it has that horrific, like, I'm in pure hell horror right now. Now, I guess it would be in relation to like those feelings would be the same way I would feel if somebody said, "Hey, there's a yellow jacket nest over here in this house. I want you just to go in there,
Oh
inside
no.
there." I would freak the hell out. That is my kryptonite. That is my fear. Are yellow jackets. Clowns, not so much.
Hey, Cactus, why don't you go give that yellow jacket a kiss?
Oh, no,
Turn
no,
that shit
no.
around.
No. You could
Exactly.
see, I could see that, and that's what I realized. Then I had some empathy. I knew what she was going through. It was
Hmm.
traumatic. But now
It's horrible.
something like that, like Freddy Krueger was. I have music on my mind. Freddy Krueger did it for me to a point. I watched some of that stuff. It was old school by the time I got to it. But I mean, I was a teenager when I saw these things from the 80s or whatever, I'm like, this dude, I got the brains and you got the body. It was like, oh my God, this guy looks burnt. Eh, He
Hmm.
he's disfigured, disformed, which is okay. I could get past that. But man, when you have those claws like Wolverine, okay, and what really pushed me over the edge, because I was grabbing popcorn, I was eating popcorn, I'm like watching this in the dark. Stupid move. You should never watch this in the dark by yourself. I'm sitting there chewing on the
Especially the
popcorn.
first time.
I turned into the kitchen. I remember vividly at the couch. I looked to my left because that's where the fridge was. And then on the movie on the TV, it's playing the scene where he's taking his claws and he's scraping them across
Oh,
the
I hate that
wall.
noise.
That noise, I violently turned to the TV, and I hear this. Now today, that kind of haunts me. That haunts me when I hear that noise and the sparks are flying everywhere when he's doing it, and he's just dragging them across because he's hunting, you know, which is really, it freaked me the hell out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those sounds that makes your skin crawl.
Halloween was, mm, I mean, Halloween was okay. I could see, the Jason. I could see. I mean, that had some scary stuff too. Don't get me wrong,
I
but
mean, like the original
mhm,
Halloween, like the very first one, when you
right,
don't know what's gonna happen, that was great.
right.
And then you got the sequels and the prequels and the remakes, and it's all the same.
Hmm.
Like it doesn't like the backstory never changes, which
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. But I mean, how many movies can you make of a guy in a mask and a mechanic jumpsuit, holding a knife, walking slowly,
Right.
and everyone's screaming? I mean, come on now.
With his big blade, and he's just kind of dragging it behind him or in front of him or whatever the case it is. What always got me though on those was the facial. He has the facial expressions, but he doesn't because he's wearing a mask, so it kind of has that like dull look, just that dumb, no uh, expressionless face, but his actions, his body actions, his body movements sold it because he'd get like hit in the head with something or whatever the case it is. He would just like, he would turn his head, like either crack his neck or whatever like that, and then get really aggressive. So it was just those little points. He didn't even have to say anything. I mean, it could be like a mime, wouldn't you think? I mean, did he ever speak? Jason ever talk? I don't think I've ever heard one word.
I don't think I've heard Jason talk, and I know for a fact I've never heard Michael Myers talk.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, how many movies can you make of that?
Right.
One, they're both in masks. One's a hockey mask, one's a plain the Michael Myers mask was actually a make off of William Shatner.
Is that what it was? Really?
Yeah. It was a plain white William Shatner mask.
Now that's an interesting.
How many movies can you make like that?
Well,
give us something new, give us something good, give us something different that we haven't seen already.
Isn't this year? Aren't they coming out with a new one, a new Halloween?
They are, and I don't know. It's supposed to be called Halloween Kills, I believe. It's supposed to come out, obviously, around Halloween time. If it's going to follow the same pattern as the previous movies,
yeah,
it's going to come in the end of October.
See, there was one in 2018. Now, see, I stopped watching them because you touched base there, where it's to the point where you could almost fall asleep to knowing what's going to happen. The inevitable is going to happen to the characters, not all the characters, but some of the characters. You have the dumb person, you have the bimbo. No offense to anybody, but you're going to have those kind of people. You're going to have the smart one, and then you're going to have one that's just whatever. So you have like 3 to 4 players, the main group of people. One's going to get sorted off immediately, chopped up, whatever the case it is. Then the other ones are going to start fighting. They're going to find the weaknesses. Eventually, they're all going to cry and scream because they're near misses, and maybe they'll get one will get chopped or, injured, maimed, but they will still, without bleeding out amazingly, will still go throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
And eventually, they do. And the thing is kind of, they make them immortal. These like Jason and Freddy and stuff like this. I mean, you think about all the times, all the times that they've done these. Like I've seen them get shot. I've seen them get thrown through major electrocuted. I mean,
come on now. They have to at least die sometime. You can't keep it going forever.
Right.
I mean, they've done movies.
I mean,
one of the Halloween movies didn't even have Michael Myers in it.
Have you ever seen some of the first ones of Jason and all them? Have you ever seen like the originals? They were a little cheesy, but at the same time, they kind of had those like, they were new in the scene. They were kind of new in that feel. Like, okay, Alfred Hitchcock, of course, was the god of creating angles and horror films and stuff like this, or scenes and stuff. But they one-upped it during like the 70s and 80s with the Jasons, and then Freddy Krueger came out. I just won't be able to get that done today. Well, I can just keep saying it over and over. But then they have all the the new ones. But in reality, I mean, what are they going to have? Okay, here's one. You have the digital You have the digital killer. He is here. He's got the real long hair in the front and maybe a soda or something, and he's got a controller in his hand. He will digitally
Like
kill
the
you.
main character from the game Hatred.
He plays he plays a game. Do you want to play a game? But he gets sucked into the game, or something happens, or the controller comes to life, zaps him into the game, or zaps out a character or multiple characters, and he has controlled them, or the world will die, or the world will end, or something like that. I don't
Just
know.
give us something
Give us
new.
something new instead of like freaking, the Jason series had its run. It had its heyday. You don't see many Freddy Krueger coming out. You don't see much of
No,
those
you don't.
Nightmares on Elm Street.
See, I've
I
heard
don't
though that they're talking about doing another one.
really.
But the thing is they're using Bill England, the original Freddy Krueger,
Now, see, that would
which
be
I would,
impressive.
as long as it doesn't follow the exact same thing as the
Hmm.
first or the second or the
Right.
third, as
Right.
long as it does something a little different,
Hmm.
something more, you know, modern.
Now, would I watch it? Because, like I said, that is my kryptonite. I absolutely freaked out with Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger did it for me. Jason, the that series was bad, like horrible. Not horrible as in like, but scary. That's the word I'm
Yeah.
looking for. It's scary. But Freddy Krueger, man, just did it for me. He just those nails and the way he would pick up people and he had to control people and their veins are
Mhm.
coming out like this and shit. Like, oh my god, that scared the bejesus
Yeah,
out of me.
and the thing is he was only powerful in the dream state
Right,
when you were
right.
asleep and you
Yes,
had no control over your body. That was something completely and totally different that had not been done.
exactly. And that was
And that's what
interesting.
made Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street series so damn good.
I agree. I agree. And that's what made it, because a lot there was times, Bunny, that I would lay down and I would fear he would come out at night and get me in my dreams. There was times where of course, watching it in the night, by yourself, probably not a
Is a
good
whole
idea.
different feeling.
Yeah, when you're in your teens, your late teens, whatever, watching this, it's still scary. I don't care how old you are. Or, you go to a movie today, and if you see a horror movie or whatever like that, no matter how old you are, 10 to 50 to 80, you still people gets jump
Mhm.
scares. But now, like you're saying, like now they have this new one, this new Halloween coming up. Okay, like if they have that coming up, then is it going to be like the one from 2018? Is it going to be just a rehash? Are we going to go for the same things? Digitally, technology has changed. Way back then, they had to use props. They had to use. There wasn't very many techniques. You would use the
Mhm.
dark rooms. You could do silhouettes. You could do stuff like this, where the hide behind the things. Versus today, they have digital where you can green screen things out. Hell, they can just run around in a green screen or a blue screen,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, you don't have to really worry about props in the background because all that is just digital. But it's just like, why are they continuing on with this? I mean, a lot of these like kids today, these millennials and next Gen Ys and stuff,
They don't give a damn about them.
they don't know what
They
like
don't know,
Jason is,
like,
or
exactly. They don't know old school 80s
mm-hmm.
good horror movies.
Right. Instead
Like,
of
I
you
mean,
know,
I know we're on like the Halloween movies and
mm-hmm.
the slasher films, but one that I think that doesn't get enough credit
Uh-huh.
is The Evil Dead.
You really think so?
I mean, you hear about Michael Myers all the time. You hear about Freddy and Jason.
Right.
You hear about them always, all
You
the time.
always do. Yeah. You always hear about them.
When's the last time you heard someone talk about the Evil Dead?
The evil who? That's-
Exactly. I'm
exactly, yeah.
sorry. That movie freaked me the hell out.
You
That was such a good horror movie.
uh-huh.
It had just the right amount of jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
It had just the right amount of suspense,
Mhm.
and it had a good storyline to it.
See,
That's the stuff that we need to bring back.
we
That's the stuff that
right.
we don't get nowadays.
I agree. And as some has pointed out, you know, it would be interesting instead of the we are in the footsteps of the characters, the main characters of a horror film. So I am that person, the lead character. I'm running around. Here's the villain. Here is the, you know, Freddy, or here's the
Mhm.
Jason Voorhees, or, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
But what about reverse it? What if you were in the mind of the serial killer himself? What if you were actually in his footsteps? So you get a
So
backstory
a
of
different
why.
point of view.
Yeah, you get the backstory. I know some of those ones like Jason, you know, they give you the backstory a little bit of like how he grew up, or, you know, all this
But
stuff.
they don't tell it from the
His,
opposite
yeah,
side.
they don't jump over that fence and say, okay, here's this point. Here's the why this person is the way he is. He had a bad existence in life. Now this is why he wants to do this, or she. What about a female
That would be
serial
great.
killer, or maybe a, you know, an LGBTQ person as a killer? I mean, it could, whatever way.
There's so many different ways you can take horror movies nowadays.
There's so many options you can do. I could totally see
There's
you, buddy,
so
doing it.
much there's so much more that is accepted in our society now than there was back in the 80s.
Bunny would have like ninja like carrots or something. She would be able to throw them, and her evil
Turn a carrot
ears,
into a ninja star.
her evil ears would hear stuff that no others can hear. But see, that kind of brings up the
I mean,
point too.
that'd be perfect. I
But
could hear you a mile away.
now, would you be an evil bunny, or would you flip over to the supernatural side? Would you
Hmm.
be super bunny foo? So in other words, you have unrealistic you have hearing beyond normal hearing, or you're able to hop further than me or any other person out there. You have these extra things. You eat these carrots that bring out this extra power into you. Kind of like, well, if you want to talk about like supernatural ones, Superman,
See,
Batman, and, you know, Spider
see,
Man.
when I think supernatural,
Mm-hmm.
I think more of, like Insidious
Okay, I could see that.
or The Conjuring.
Ooh, oh, ho, ho,
Have
ho.
you watched the new Conjuring movie?
Oh, I saw one of. I saw. No, I haven't seen the new one.
Oh my god.
Maybe I'll make a movie night one time if I can. I'll have to.
Watch all three of them
Oh hell.
because one, they are all based on true stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Ed and Lorraine Warren were real people
Oh, they
that really did
definitely
this
were.
shit.
The amazing people that helped out a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And the way they took these objects out of these people's homes and said, okay, I'm just going to put them in my home. Like, why would you do that? Why in the hell would you take something that is either demonically possessed or just something in general that has killed people, supposedly, just in theory, but maybe, and say, I'm going to put these and showcase these in my house, just like how Zach Bagans, he has his
Has
museum
his museum.
and he has this
See,
obsession with it. And it's like, I don't know if I would go that far into it, you know?
see, Ed Warren
Mm-hmm.
said it best. They take the artifacts from
Mm-hmm.
the houses of these people rather than destroy them and
Would,
put them locked up in a place that is safer. Because if the item gets destroyed, whatever it is that's attached to that item can move on and attach itself to a different item, like the Annabelle doll.
I was just going to say, that sounds just like ring a ding ding Annabelle. Oh, buddy.
Hmm.
I, but I've always, okay, my thoughts about that is like supernatural, like Chucky, for example. That's another
Oh
thing.
God,
We'll
yes.
talk about that in a second, but that kind of brings up this topic is dolls, they say, are vessels. They say that
Mm.
they suck up the spirits, and this is why people think possessed dolls exist is because of the souls in them, Annabelle, etc., etc. They
Mm-hmm.
feel they're cursed. Now, I've had claims when I've done paranormal investigating in the past. I've had people who have had in houses, they literally have a room from floor to ceiling
Oh, I know where
of
you're going with
dolls.
that.
And these things, I'm talking 3 foot tall dolls to little dolls that are like the size of a thumb thingy, the thimble, the size of a thimble. And they're all sitting quietly on the dressers, and they're sitting all quietly on these little display cases and stuff. And there's some that are just sitting on the floor, just piles of them, all sitting like they're watching you like an audience. Now I don't know why in the hell this lady had this many. I'll tell you what though, what freaked me the hell out was what she had said. She said that one, and she pointed right to it, which is one of the biggest ones in the room. She says that moves by itself. It has moved from where its position was, which was almost center of the room, because that's how filled of dolls from the center room back wall. This place was filled with dolls, like a movie theater, basically. And that freaked me the hell out. But why you would carry something like that in your house if you know it's kind of quote unquote possessed to the point where it moves like a Chucky doll? Why?
No.
Why the hell would you retain this in your house? I can understand if you're cautious and you're very scared to move it because you don't want something to happen to you, because Annabelle, you don't want to die from doing this, because demonically some can and will kill you. But I don't know, and it relates to Chucky. Now Chucky's were it got kind of boring once you introduced the Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't like the Bride of Chucky. I like how they introduce another character into the series, but I didn't really like it because it got really cheesy.
Yeah.
And
It was more, comedy
yeah,
with Bride of Chucky
right.
and The Seed of Chucky. Those were more comedy than horror.
I
And when I think of Chucky, I think little demon doll that wants to kill people. I don't think of Chucky, the demon doll that wants to kill people slash family of dolls.
I mean his demeanor with that little blade and stuff like this. It's like again another one who was immortal. Basically, people would throw him into fires, throw him into fireplace, do this. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was literally just like set TNT on him and let him explode. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what his injury sustained was, he still somehow pieced himself back together. Now, like
Mm-hmm.
you were mentioning, the Bride of Chucky, to me, it just got really cheesy. Chucky, she got really. I think that was that transition where they're like, okay, what are we going to do with this series? We've already had this guy, this little doll who's possessed. He's bought by the family. He gets killed, starts killing people. Now, what are we going to do? We have a miniature version of Jason Voorhees / Freddy Krueger. And you got like all these, for like a little 3-foot sized doll that's running around killing.
If that.
It was crazy. It was like I don't know. To me the first one was, I think, the best one. Sometimes if you have more than say 2 or 3, then it starts going downhill. It's like, okay.
Yep. Then it starts getting washed out.
I mean, then you have like, what was it? Jason versus Freddy or
versus Jason? Yeah. No,
like
that's a no bueno movie.
like what
That
the
movie's
hell?
horrible.
Like what is going on with the industry? I mean, when I think horror movies, I want to be sucked into the story. I want to find a nice, where's that storyline taking me? Why is this person the way he or she is? Then I want to see the other side of the story. I want to be the audience, but I want to be on the stage at the same time. That's what I always say. It's just like watching a relationship between Amy Doe and Jim Doe. Is you see more things as the audience than they do when they are on the stage. Their stage meaning their lives, those together. because if they're boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, whatever the case it is, they don't see some of the things that you and I, as audience participants, see. Blinded by love is the terminology for it. But for the Chuckies and stuff, I don't know. It didn't really do it for me. But then it came to the point where you have people who are gifted with supernatural powers. Okay.
Mhm.
Again, slightly different. They are the heroes, the unsung heroes of these crime ridden metropolises. You have obviously Superman, who ironically just came from a whole different Krypton, a whole different planet. And
He's an
was,
alien.
yeah, he's an alien, but he can speak. He looks just like you and I, more
He
muscles.
looks American. He
Yeah, he looks yeah, he looks your generic
average
American.
American.
Right. But then of course he always has the
He
placebo
speaks
was
perfect English.
right. And he even gets a job as a reporter, as working in a news station or whatever it was. But
And I don't mean to cut you off, but that's one thing that always bugged me about the Supermans. How is it they see Superman every single day that
uh-huh.
he's out flying around, saving someone, doing this, doing that. How is it that he goes to work for the Daily Planet and all he's got to do is put on a pair of glasses?
Right.
Like, come on, y'all can't be that daft.
His hat and some glasses, dark glasses, and he'd always
He don't
kind of
even wear a hat.
he did. I thought he
Like,
did. I thought he wore like a
no,
little
he's got a button-up white T-shirt with a tie and dark glasses.
hi Jane. And like, okay. But
Like,
you just saved her ass like overnight, but she doesn't
yeah,
recognize your
right?
voice.
Hi,
You're
Lois. How are you? How was
uh,
your night? Not that I don't know.
I know what you did last night, but it's like, but see, that's the thing. It's always like it got to the point, and then they had this series where, oh god, I can't think of the name of it. There was a series where he was like, the young Superman came in, he was like 20 something, came down to Earth. But then you have, there's backstory, but there isn't. But again, you look at it like, okay, he could speak fluent English. He looks just like you and I. He works at a place. He falls in love with a lady, or she falls in love with him. So it's your typical scenario. But you got to remember that was written back during what World War II days, I think it was,
Mhm.
when he first was developed as a superhero for America. Kind of like
Yeah.
Captain America. And now
Mhm.
Captain America, Shield, and all that stuff. It didn't really do it for me. I'm not into that, or the Hulk, or I mean,
Yeah, like I get, the Avengers and stuff.
mhm,
I
mhm,
have watched all the Avengers movies.
right.
But, if like we were talking about before the podcast, if they were that well known,
Mhm.
how would they be able to go out in public? I
True.
mean, other than saving the world
Right.
over and over. But like in the movies, you see them go out
Mhm.
and they're out in public and they're not being bombarded.
Fandom. I know it's kind of interesting how that
I mean,
works.
except for Tony Stark, of course, because Iron Man. But like all of them, when they're all together,
Right.
it makes no sense.
It's like the Power Rangers, same thing. Like the only thing that changes them is a solid color. You
Yeah,
have Amy this and blah blah blah. She turns on pink and she's an Avenger, or it's or the Power Ranger. It's weird. It's like how that's the power of TV or power of magic. The blindness. I guess you could
hmm
say it's kind of like how we're blinded by things. The
yeah,
power of you transition
vanity.
vanity. Yeah, you can't. I guess that was the only way they could think, okay, how can I get a superhero to naturally fall to the earth, or in general be part of the public without being known that he is a hero? So let's change his clothing, just change a couple characteristics of him or her,
hmm
like Wonder Woman. Huh? Okay. Or the various different heroes that came out. What was some of the ones that were really floppy? Um, the Green Lantern. A lot of people
I
don't.
don't know much about the Green Lantern. It's just his name.
Aquaman. Not very many people do know him.
I
Immediately, if
mean,
you,
I know who Aquaman is,
right, he talks to fish.
but I've never watched the movie.
Right?
That sounds more like the thing from Thundercats, but
Oh God, Snarf,
yeah.
Snarf. Oh God. Now
I
see,
just made myself feel really old to say that. So
but see, okay, so you had the cartoon transitions too. That's a good point. You got to think about that too. They had transitions of, so you have your superheroes. Not only do they do franchises of the movies itself, like real actors played it, Christopher Reeves, etc., etc. But now you have the transition again, where now it goes into the let's play the cartoon market of these heroes. I mean, there's to the point where it's you have these villains and stuff. Again, they always constantly get captured by like the Joker. I think Jack Nicholson played one of the best Jokers, and then of course the late, and I forgot his name, the one that did
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Heath
Heath,
Ledger.
not Keith.
Yeah, Heath.
Yes,
With it
Heath
like the Heath
with the
bar.
H. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
Heath
okay.
Ledger was my favorite Joker
See,
by far.
what I found was hilarious was in particular was that one scene, not really hilarious, but truly good acting because I don't know if it was an F up on the special effects department. The part where he's walking away and I think it's a hospital that's gonna
Yes.
blow up and he's pushing on it and it doesn't do anything. He's sitting there, he's like, he's pushing it and it didn't do anything. And now I don't know if it was supposed to make a boom or somebody was supposed to yell a boom and then he reacts to it on the sound set, but whatever it was, and then his reaction to it when he turns around and he looks was priceless to me. It was just how that timing of it was really good. It was improv, it was really good. I like that. He was really good, and his head sticking out the window, of course.
And see, Heath Ledger himself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he's always going to be an icon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's always, personally to me, he's one of my favorite actors.
Mm.
And it's a shame that he passed away.
It's a very sad
But
shame.
He got so into the role of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He was a method actor.
Oh yeah.
When he went home, he made himself insane. He lived the role of the Joker. He didn't, do like 90% of actors. He immersed himself in the Joker's lore,
mm-hmm.
making his laugh like the Joker, doing stuff that would make him seem more like the Joker.
Right.
To where he was more insane. When he left, he was still the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Until that movie was done being made. And even a little bit of time after that, because that's the thing with method actors. When they're put in that role,
mm-hmm.
they immerse themselves so much that it takes them time to snap back to reality and
desensitize. Yes. Just like as you say that, two of my favorite method actors, Charlie Chaplin, because he would just make himself the bum, the hobo. And he was that was totally improv. He just grabbed the jacket. He just grabbed his outfit the last second during an interview for I think it was a movie thing. And then Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey,
oh God, yes.
especially
Carrey.
Like during The Mask. And
oh God, yes.
during those times, he would really put himself as that character. Just like Heath Ledger did. He would spend many hours doing so, just looking in the mirror, talking, his expressions, his mouth, his vocal, just the way he would look, his turns, just like with Johnny Depp too. Not too, of course.
Johnny Depp is is a method actor as well.
With the Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff.
Oh God, yes.
Amazing.
I love Johnny Depp in the Pirate of the Caribbean movies.
He was good. He was really good. I wish they would have pushed another one. It's again a series that could probably I would watch it because they're good no matter what.
I actually think they're thinking about doing another one.
I think it's probably the amount of money they would have to pay out the actors though. You got to figure Johnny Depp is not cheap. If you want him in your
no, he's not cheap.
he is not.
He's one of the most well-known faces in Hollywood right now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
between movies and the stuff with his ex-wife.
No, see that I feel bad for him in a sense.
I've followed that for a very long time. And I'm all in his corner.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I've seen a lot of things that she has said, and a lot of things that she has said don't have the proof to back it up, or are time stamped to way after she said they happened. But that's a conversation for another time.
What about Elastic Man? You ever heard of that one?
Who's the Elastic Man?
There you go. Shamu. You ever heard Shamu?
No.
These are some of those supernatural things you don't hear of. You don't hear of these particular characters because you have the almighty Spider-Man on top. Then you have Superman, of course. Then you have Wolverine. Those are your top three.
Yeah.
You don't hear, some of the other characters. Well, Wolverine, of course, reminds me of like last hour we were talking about slasher films, or this part of the hour, and in regards to slashers and they have the same kind of a. I don't know if I actually never counted how many blades Freddy. I think he had 5, and Wolverine has 4. So
Wolverine has 3.
Well, he has 3. Okay.
Yes.
So that makes.
I think Freddy has 5.
So to go so this way they don't get hit with copyrights or infringement because they're like, hey, you have a character that has blades on his hand. They narrowed
We've already done that.
Narrowed it down to 3 versus 5. But what's going to be the new one though?
It's not a glove on his hand. It's coming out of his hand.
That was that's what freaked me the hell out more. Even so, he would just like swing, like with Wolverine, it just like swings it out and
his hand, and like it showed.
It's like
the first time that happened and how much pain he was in.
Yeah.
I felt that. I felt that pain because that looked so painful.
But you never see him use them though that much.
Yeah, I mean,
he never kills people with it. Yeah, I mean it's his image. He looks like a friggin' wolf, Wolverine. Yeah. He looks like a Wolverine. Kind of has that sideburns and stuff like that. I get that, but he never really. If you notice, like none of the supernaturals really kill anybody. So why is it that like Superman, of course, he has burning eyesight and stuff like this. So why did they put that as a superpower if they never really use it? I mean, he used it a few times, to burn through a wall or whatever it was, or to burn through rope. But then Wolverine, I think maybe he did use his blades accidentally. And I think I remember seeing a part of a movie where he was in and he felt really guilty of it or whatever like that. So he tried to break off his pieces of his things, but I don't know, his blades. But you never really see that. Spider-Man, of course, uses webbing to capture people. But if he was bit by a spider, a radioactive spider, how come he doesn't bite other people? How come he doesn't have the spider? How come he doesn't have more than 2 legs? Why is, spider has 8?
It's just the webs and the sticky fingers.
Right. He's able to climb walls and stick to walls and stuff like that. But what makes them so good versus your traditional Joe? Yeah, they go out and save people just like police officers and fire departments and stuff like this today. But what really sets them, what's different between them, what makes them more supernatural than, say, you or I. Like if you were to save somebody, you become a hero. But
Mhm.
what's the big dramatic difference between them? And that's what Hollywood has to look at. Like, okay, what am I going to make my next supernatural character?
Yeah,
Is it, how are they going to do this or do that? What is it going to be? Because they've already
exactly.
played all the slashers. They've all played out. Yeah, you got all these knives and claws and skin faces and all this stuff. But what's the next gen of slasher movies? You know, that's the thing we have to look at. We have to figure that out. Like, okay,
I
how?
mean, at this point, I feel like, you know, anyone who knows me knows horror is my favorite genre.
Right.
When it comes to books, when it comes to movies, games,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Right.
It's my favorite genre. I'm at the point though where I feel like I'm not going to be able to watch another good horror movie for the first time
Mm-hmm.
because it's all the same.
It's a
It's been
yawn.
the same. It's been the same for years. And I've been looking forward to movies coming out
Mm-hmm.
just to be disappointed.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last good movie I watched was the third installment in the Conjuring movies.
Mm-hmm.
That one had me on the edge of my seat. Had me hiding my face at points and times. That
That's
one that one was good.
so it got to you pretty good.
It really did.
Mm.
We need more movies like that.
We do. We absolutely do.
Stuff
But
that keeps you on the edge of your seat, stuff that captivates you and grabs you in
see,
and makes you want to keep watching,
that's the
not
thing.
makes you want to fall asleep.
What is that? What what is the next step? What is the next gen, if you will, of horror films?
Hmm.
They've covered all bases already, but as others have pointed, maybe mentally, like you're going into the mindset of this person who's the serial killer. Maybe that's the way he does it, or maybe. And I know how Gen Y and Gen X and Gen Ys and Gen Zs and millennials are all computer based. What if this person's connected to a computer? Or what if it's a computer? But of course, we've seen those in the past,
Yeah.
Terminator, etc., etc. But what if it's more connected into the internet? Or what if it's something like that? It's robotic, but not. Or see, I don't know. I can't say. I'm not in the
Something
genre
like
of.
that, but not like Chain Litter.
Right, right.
That movie, I'm sorry, that was just a flop.
I was going to get that for you for Christmas.
Oh God.
I was gonna get you
No.
some clown shoes and
No.
chain
I'll
letters.
send I'll get a little vial and fill it up with red ants
Oh hell,
and send it to you.
they won't survive up here for long because I'll either kill them or set them out in the wintertime. They won't survive. But I don't know. What about like a supernatural, like the newer like superhero type? What do you think is going to be on that one? What do you think like a new one should go with that? We talk about serial killers and stuff. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's questionable in Hollywood. Are they going to rehash the same stuff over and over because they can make beaucoup of money? I'm going to make it this again, but now
I'm gonna
20.
make this again and just change the title
Right. Yeah, I'm going to make it the
and
same kind of genre.
update little key
Right.
part.
Exactly. Like I'm going to put them behind in front of a green screen, and I'm going to make them more realistic blades and stuff and special CGs and stuff like this, but and then cuz there's millions and millions of dollars you can make these producers and stuff for very little time behind the eye of the camera, really.
I mean, okay, this might sound stupid as hell,
Mm-hmm.
but the way I see it, we need more hero movies, kind of like Kick Ass.
Yeah, yeah,
Kick Ass was funny, but I want to see more of humans being good humans.
right. Humanity
Not
will always rule.
not a bunch of superheroes that are not of this planet and they have all these powers or they were bit by a spider. I want to see humans being good to humans and doing what they can to make the world a better place.
More down to earth humanity versus supernatural,
Exactly.
artificial. Because I think that's what we need. I mean, we kind of prove that as
Especially after 2020.
exactly.
Because 2019, the first half was okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After about this time or May
Mm-hmm.
2019 up until now, the whole world has gone to hell.
It
And we need to do something. And I want to see that turn into a movie.
That'd be interesting. Like the heroes, the real heroes versus, the
And
the genetic.
I'm not talking just, cops, firefighters, paramedics,
Right.
nurses, doctors. I'm
Right.
talking everyday people.
Citizens. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. And there's a boatload of those. I mean, even after a natural disaster, I mean, there's a tropical storm depression, something that's down there in the Gulf Coast, or further north inland
The
now,
Atlantic.
the Atlantic, and you would hope and assume that there's going to be natural heroes, just like with weather spotters. General rule of thumb of a weather spotter, of course, is to get the data, the information about the storm, relay that to the dispatch 911,
Yeah.
and help those who are in need. But when it comes to if a house gets destroyed during the path of a tornado and they are right there, they will stop the chase to physically go into that house to check on people. So something like that would be really neat, like a little natural story of realism. That's what it is. It's more like realism in a sense.
See, like this, like something that's a little bit personal for me that I'd like to see turned into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, okay, my mom, my dad, my two older sisters that are twins, my aunt, my uncles, they all got together and they formed kind of something small, and it was called the Central Florida Disaster Team. What they would do is after any kind of natural disaster, whether it be fire, tornado, hurricane, they would go out and they would help with the cleanup, they would help with resources, they would go in. My parents used to be weather chasers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I all my life I remember my mom and my dad tracking storms, and
Interesting.
they used to go out and chase tornadoes, hurricanes,
Mm-hmm.
fires, all that stuff. That's the kind of heroes that we need.
Amen. That's exactly what
That
I'm.
kind of go out and do something important,
Yeah.
not fight made up supervillains.
I mean, even some of those villains were just cheesy. Some
A
of the
little
ones,
too far fetched.
other ones, like they get thrown in jail, like say they did a crime, and then like next thing you know, they're out of jail again. Like, hey man, I mean, if I did
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
crime, I'd be freaking down the river for like years.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if they're gonna make a movie like that, I know they have to, because time is really a non-existent thing in in movies, but also in games too, where
Hmm.
the reality time is, you blink, oh, it's 10 years.
Yeah,
But that's just
exactly.
how it is. But you never really see them serve their time. If they wanted to make a movie like that, they could like say, the villain gets thrown in jail. Let's make a little
Mhm.
backstory with that person while they're in the jail, while they're trying to
Yeah.
break out of the jail and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like the whole mass amount of the movie itself, but
Hmm.
just a part of just the storyline, just to give it a little twist.
To
That
give it
way.
some years so it's not, I just
Right.
went to jail. I'm gonna break out 3 days later.
Right. Give it a little bit of, some.
Make it more realistic.
Right. And that's what they need to do. These, I mean, if this movie coming out in 2021 later this year, if it's going to be the same as 2018's version, I'm not going to see it.
Either.
I mean,
I'm tired of the same things in
right.
movies.
It's getting to the point where it's monotonous. It's like
Exactly.
you can see the same thing. You could see again. You could see the heroes of the story. Then you have
Mhm.
the villain. Then you have the victims of the story. Then you have the rest of the people who survived the villain, and they go to fight another day, or they go and it's just they Hollywood needs to take that next step. Just like 720 went to 1080, now 1080 is going to 4K. They need that
Mhm.
whoop. What's going to be the new juicy, exciting game slash movie slash whatever that is going to make or the new John like, ooh, this is new. This is I've never seen this. This is great. I
What
can't wait for
what is it
this.
that's gonna grab the attention
Yeah,
and
because
hold it?
as humans, we have attention spans longer than fish, but they have 7 seconds of brain thought, and then they disappear. But you gotta entice me with a nice new a new style of horror.
Yes.
I like you. I like horror stuff. I like doing haunted stuff. I like doing stuff like that in October, etc., etc. Need to what's the next step? What's
They
going to
need to
be?
they need to step up their game for sure.
Is it going to be a guy with syringes? Is it going to be a guy with arrows? I mean, is it going to be a lady that grabs a hose and I mean, it's just anything that something different than what we have currently. Maybe it's going to be a person who can mentally disable villains or something like that, or is a killer but uses his mind to kill you.
Kind of like Magneto.
Yeah, like Magneto. See, now that would be kind of a good little throw
Twist.
Magneto back into it because he doesn't have much.
No, he doesn't.
Again, Superman and Batman and
Yeah.
he has the
Yeah.
life of Green Lantern and Aquaman, which is sad, which is really
Yeah.
sad.
But, that's just one of those things that all we can do is watch, wait, and hope for the
And
best.
hope, yes, that's all we can do. Let's take a break. After this,
Alrighty.
we'll discuss some interesting things after the break.
Mhm.
We'll discuss some things that are pretty much
Well known.
a well-known and big part of what's going on now inside the digital websites, the streaming websites, about this and that. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Let's go for the break.